Grab your coffee and join me, Nicoa, for a caffeinated conversation about life. I'll be talking to people who have chosen to walk their own paths and, just like me, are creating a life by design. I hope it will give you the inspiration you need to do exactly the same.
Boom.
Boom. Shakalaka-laka. Boom, shakalaka-laka. Welcome, everybody, to Coffee with Nicoa. I have two amazing guests this morning, and this is one of those wing it till you make it type of episodes, because I was printing out my shit this morning, and we can say shit because these two guests are from the amazing, famous podcast called Shit That Goes On in Our Heads.
Amazing and famous. Adding that to my resume. Thank you.
Yeah, I was wondering why y'all forgot to write that in your bios. The amazing and famous.
Because we're
the dynamic duo.
Because we're humble.
Oh, sorry.
Is that what we are?
I'm not accustomed to that word too much. I'm big and bold and brash sometimes in my braggadocious ways. Okay, guys, let me introduce you to these two amazing people. So it's really funny because in their podcast, and these are best friends. So we've got G-Rex and Dirty Skittles. So last night I'm looking for their bios and I'm like, what are their real names again?
Did you see my AKA when I logged in? Oh, there it is. Dirty Skittles, AKA Charlene.
AKA Charlene. Yeah. And we've got Charlene and Gretchen here, which, but they're most known for their G-Rex and Dirty Skittles best friendship. Okay. They have a podcast, guys, that is really about being best friends and keeping each other sane through humor, engaging conversation, and yes, even the occasional curse word, as I mentioned. And G-Rex and Dirty Skittles dive into lighthearted discussions about life's ups and downs. And I had the privilege of being one of their guests recently. Yay. We had such a good time, didn't we?
We did.
All right. So
I loved it.
So people know who is who. G-Rex, why don't you do a quick hello and intro of yourself? Anything you want to say so they can recognize your voice.
Morning, all. G-Rex here. I live in upstate New York. We love it up here. Just woke up, so I'm a little foggy right now, but it's all good.
It's all good. You got your coffee, though, right?
I do. I have coffee in a mug that was specifically made for our podcast for Dirty Skittles and I.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's got it's purple and it says shit that goes on in our heads, which I forgot to use my Coffee with Nicoa mug this morning. So we have the Balearic Islands.
All right. Beautiful.
What about you, Charlene? What are you drinking? Introduce yourself so they hear your voice.
My name is Charlene, aka Dirty Skittles. I'm drinking out of just a regular old Yeti. Nothing fancy.
Oh, that's fancy. We want the sponsorship. Go Yeti. Go Yeti. Because my cups that say Coffee with Nicoa are Yetis.
Yeti keeps my beverages hot or cold all day long.
Yes.
Get yourself a Yeti. No. Yeah. What am I? I am a mom, a wife,
a badass,
podcasting on the side, working a full-time job still. Just fucking living life, man. Learning about balance.
Yeah, learning about balance. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because one of the things we spent a lot of time talking about my philosophies around life by design when we were together the other day. And it's like that conversation could have just kept going and going and going. And I've been listening to some of y'all's episodes, and I thought, let's just start first before we dig deep into how you guys came together. Just let's talk about this concept, life by design. What were your takeaways from that conversation with me that have stuck with you? I'm curious.
I was literally just telling my mother-in-law about our episode together. I feel like I'm still learning from that episode. Like, it stuck with me. And I was thinking today, I'm like, oh, I have so many things that I want to tell you, because the last time we were together, I remember like coming to the realization that like, hey, I need to take a step back from like this corporate mentality and like focus on things that I'm passionate about that really make me happy. And it's hard. It's a hard thing to do when you're so used to focusing on work, and not necessarily yourself. So my biggest takeaway was learning how to put me first.
Was there an example that you made a change since we last spoke?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, there is. Let me tell you. The infamous Dirty Skittles went and got a primary care doctor and got all my lab work done so that I knew, because my goal eventually is to, well, not eventually, but my goal is to be here long enough to see my son get married and have kids and all this stuff. And with work, it was really stressful. G-Rex knows, because I called her and I was talking to her about like, wow, I'm actually starting to feel physical effects of this job, that I was like, I need to go to a primary. I need to get blood work done. I need to know what I'm dealing with and like make life changes that may need to happen, right? So I did. Went to a primary, got my blood work done. I know what I'm dealing with. I know what I need to do. Making an appointment for a nutritionist.
Oh,
went on vacation.
Yeah.
So many things have happened.
A lot of the media. First of all, I think I'm going to cry because, I do this work. Oh my God, that made me so emotional, Charlene. Because I could die today.
Right.
Knock wood. But I could. I know you're not the only one who made a life change because of either these podcasts and you guys are doing the same, or the coaching work I do. And, people are like, I thought, what would Nicoa do? And it makes me laugh because I'm like, oh my God. And I'm just sharing everybody else's insights I read about somewhere or got trained in. It's not like it's Nicoa, but God damn it. I'm so
I did. It stuck with me for sure. Yeah.
That's fabulous. Well, what about you? G-Rex, tell us what's been going on. You said you stayed up a little late last night. Well, what about your Life by Design takeaways?
My Life by Design is really going full blown into my passion, right? I get to work my dream job every single day, right? At 60, who says that they actually love what they do? I love what I do. And so I've gone like hard press onto the podcast. I redesigned our website. We had a press release that went out, made me cry. I'm looking for new vendors for merchandise. I'm like full in. And my wife is so fucking awesome. I'm just going to tell you, she totally stands behind what we're doing. And this is somebody that never listened to podcasts before, and she gets excited when our episodes come out. But here's the funny thing. Like, when she listens, I have to leave the room because I can't do it. If somebody's listening to my voice, I got to walk the fuck out of the room. I'm like, yeah, can you put headphones on?
Yeah, I just disassociate.
I totally get that, because it's something about the broader audience. This is fine for us to share and talk, but then when your family and close, intimate friends are listening, it's like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. Like, oh my God, I don't. Or my kids. Oh man.
Yeah, she wants to put it on the radio. When we're out driving around, I'm like, no, can we just listen to music?
Well, at least she's excited. My husband's like, I'm listening to you all day already. I don't know if I want to listen anymore.
That's my husband.
Yeah. Well, you guys are pretty amazing. And you've been doing the podcast now for how long?
We just had our year.
Yeah, just had a year.
Well, I like how you did that. So you've done it for a year, but you're in like season 4? What the fuck? I mean, I was like season 2. It's almost been a year. I'm going to start season 2. How do you decide that? Like, what's the rule?
I think in the beginning we were just like, what is it, like 10, 12 episodes a season? And that was kind of our thing. And then we would meet every single weekend. Sometimes, well, now we are back to our original schedule.
Yeah.
Which was like we would record for 3 to 4 episodes a day or a weekend day. Yeah. So every Saturday. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So just pumping them out.
I guess I didn't do enough homework. I think I did like 50 episodes and then I went to season 2. I think I was thinking in the concept of time. I don't know. Yeah. Who knows? I read your newsletter this morning. I mean, I can really tell that you have put a lot into it, Gretchen. Are you using AI for those show notes? I mean, it's pretty impressive, the newsletter. And
I use AI initially, and then I go back and just rewrite it myself. I just use what they give me, and I'm like, you know what? I want to make this way more personable because this is like computer speak. You are a dog. We talk to Sam. Okay, I want to put a little human touch into that. But it's funny. It took us a year to get that newsletter out because it was something that was completely out of my wheelhouse. And like the podcast is completely out of our wheelhouse too. If you look back at our vision board in 2022, this was not on it.
No. Tell me about this vision board. I mean, that's definitely Life by Design activity. So yeah, and because your vision board started, well, maybe let's start even further back. How did you guys even become friends?
Work.
I
remember starting my first day at this job, and you kind of get to meet all of your like desk mates, right? Like who you're sitting next to, and here comes G-Rex just fucking walking down the little row of desks, super chipper, super short. I'm just kidding. And like comes into my little cubicle, and she said, "Hey, I'm Gretchen, and if you need anything, let me know." And I sit right over here, and like was kind of it. She was very welcoming and accepting, and I would go to her for everything. I would just sit in her fucking little cubicle and look at her Christmas tree and ask her, "Hey, what about this?" and ask her all sorts of work related questions, and she always had an answer. So yeah, our personalities meshed.
How long ago was that?
Oh God, like 7.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. So y'all really are best friends. And you then, did you have the idea to do this creative endeavor together before? Or I know there was a pivotal moment, Gretchen, in your life. Maybe it's time to share that story so we know how this podcast really got launched.
Yeah, so Christmas Day 2022, I had a massive mental breakdown. Like, I was terrified. And so the next day, I called and talked to Dirty Skittles, and we just kept this conversation going. And like every day we would laugh about something super stupid, right? Like things you probably shouldn't laugh about. And we used it as a mechanism to like just get over the daily bullshit because our jobs were really super stressful, and found that, be a combination of therapy, sharing my story on social media, and laughter, I was just actually feeling better. So one day we were laughing about some stupid shit, and Charlene's like, "Hey, we should do a podcast." I'm like, "Yeah," because I was just waiting for her to like say it. But we, that was January 14th, and on February 14th, 2023, we launched our podcast. And never in a million fucking years, never did we think that we would have the reception that we did. We thought, oh, people are going to listen for like 3 months and like be like, okay, you guys are dumb, and we're going to go listen to something else. But I mean, we're a year and a couple of months in, and we've had 275,000 downloads, and we're listened to in over 60 countries. Okay, I still want to know how fuck translates to Japanese, though. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Oh, my son can tell us. He speaks Japanese. I'll find out.
Oh, wow. Okay. Send it to us. Yeah, but I mean, it really goes to G-Rex. Like, I give her a lot of credit because for me, I sometimes will say things like, "Oh, let's do that." And it's just a fun idea. But I don't put like, too much effort into it. G-Rex really took it and pushed it to what it is today. Like, I show up, I get to talk to my friend, make her laugh. She makes me laugh, and it's just fun for me. But for G-Rex, she really saw, I think, the value in what we do and shared it with everybody else. I was down to just, FaceTime and just chit chat for, you know what I mean? So
right.
It's really to her credit.
But what's really nice about it, Nicoa, is that not only do our listeners learn something every episode, but we learn something new every episode. It's funny, we'll be recording and I'll see Charlene like writing stuff down, and she'll be like, "Hey, can you repeat that again? Because, I want to write that down." Or, somebody's class or an author or just some way somebody's dealing with stress or a mental health crisis in their life. I mean, we need this. We need to normalize how we talk about mental health because it is such an important topic, and a lot of times it gets swept under the rug. And I can say for myself, that's exactly what I did, is I swept all those emotions and all that crap underneath the rug until Christmas rolled around. I was like, you know what? I'm kind of tired of this and I want to be done. But there was, there was that glimmer. And we talked about that in our anniversary episode. There was a glimmer that something better was going to happen. It did. I'm going to tell you, life on this side of depression is a billion times better.
Guess what, y'all? I published a book. Your Life by Design, a Coffee with Nicoa self-care coaching journal, is now available on Amazon. This interactive journal begins and ends with powerful queries, guiding you on a quest for the kind of life by design you don't need a vacation from. I've included an in-depth look at strategic self-care to empower you and hold you accountable to really getting to know your true self. It's time to prioritize you. Use the link in the show notes to buy yours today.
Oh, yeah. And I'm really glad that I don't want to skirt over it to your very point, because you had, you had that moment. And I think you shared that you dialed 988 that day. And for those, we'll put this in the show notes, but for those that aren't aware, 988 is a national phone number. And there are other countries have a number as well that you can look up if you're not listening from the U.S. But 988 gets you access to a counselor immediately. What was that like? At what point, tell us a little bit about the shit that was going on in your head that Christmas Day, and what thought did you have to pick up the damn phone?
Yeah, the last quarter of 2022 was horrible. Like every kind of crappy thing that could happen did. And I got to a point where I just didn't have any place else to go. At my age, at 60, we're all taught to like shove that shit down as far as it can go until it has absolutely no place else to go. And the weather was crappy here. The cars wouldn't start. I was just so freaking depressed and terrified, right? Because I couldn't find my voice and I couldn't find my footing. And I couldn't exactly tell my wife what was going on because I didn't know what was going on. And I picked up the phone, I called 988, and they were amazing. Amazing. The very next day, I was in therapy. I actually scheduled therapy as soon as I got off the phone with them. I was able to go downstairs and talk to my wife, but I was in tears. I cried straight for like 3 days.
Yeah.
And, when I called and talked to Charlene the next day, I mean, she has something about her voice, and she just makes me laugh about the stupidest shit ever. And I'm so thankful, for being able to do that and to just share my journey, because I gave people hope that, things can get better. And I shared my whole story, my journey, my healing. I still do to this day. And I'm happy that it all panned out the way that it did, because it could have been the other way. But I don't think that I had. Well, I did, because I spent 3 months beating the crap out of myself. Right? I didn't give myself any self-love or self-care. I took care of everybody else's crap, but I couldn't take care of my own. So
yeah.
But just for people that are listening, like self-care and self-love should be a priority in everybody's life, and also setting up boundaries, because if it smells like drama, it ain't coming. Nope. There's a box and I have a can of black spray paint. I'm just going to paint over you. Oh, look, I can't see you. You're drama.
Yeah, no drama here. Well, you said something pretty powerful, which is that I think people struggle with the most, which you said, I didn't even know what to tell my wife. I didn't even know what to say. I'd beaten myself up for so long and was so overwhelmed and depressed. I mean, I wasn't at a 988 status at any point, but oftentimes when I'm overwhelmed, if my husband says, well, what do you need? What do you want? I'm like, I don't even know. I just don't even know. And so it's nice to have access to a third party, even if it's a best friend, to help you, just bounce off your thoughts. And it sounds like, Charlene, that you really helped raise some lightness in that dynamic, and what you were there for Gretchen. I mean,
which to say, like, to those that are out there, like, G-Rex or Gretchen just shared her story with us, but I want people to know I had no idea, right? Like, G-Rex would come to work with a smile on her face. Like, there were no signs. So that conversation was just meant to be, right? Because I didn't go into it like, I got to make her laugh. No. It was a natural conversation between two human beings who could meet on some level and understand, like, yeah, today's shitty. Today is really fucking shitty. Let's laugh about squirrel dicks. Let's just completely step outside of ourselves in the shitty situation and distract ourselves with something else. So to G-Rex's credit, there's also something else to add to your story, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
I think this Christmas, for me, like seeing that you put up a Christmas tree,
yeah,
that was fucking cool, right? Like, give yourself credit. Like, you've now made it on the other side of this, but then you celebrated that year, and it was just wild. So, to add to your story,
it was so completely awesome, right? Like putting up a tree and decorating, and you know what's funny about this whole thing is that at the time that this was happening, Charlene was my manager, and I'm going to use that term loosely. Because
it was suggestions.
It was suggestions. Because in April of 2023, I also retired. I took an early retirement, and I felt bad because I was leaving everybody behind. But man, look at all the great things that happened since then. But that whole retirement part was another thing that really ate at me, because at 60, you know, who's going to fucking hire you? Right? You know, there's a lot of ageism in the workforce now. And thankfully for me, I'm a unicorn in what I do. So I was sought after. But man, just think if I wasn't a unicorn, you know, I'd still be beating myself up and and just trying to find my value. And I found my value. So Life by Design is really loving myself, giving myself a lot of self-care, setting up those boundaries, and following my passion.
Yeah. I think the passion piece is something people really struggle with, but they're so caught up in the day-to-day, you know, and the dialogue around, well, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to pay these bills and they're not drawing the line to I get to, right? And this is a privilege and I made this choice and that's why I have the mortgage and that's why I had the kid. And, you know, here I am with the isness of it all. Nicoa, I don't have time for my passions, or I don't even know what they are. So they're so caught. So, you know, when did you have passions outside of work to begin with, or were you just pretty much the workaholic doing your thing and taking care of everybody else, Gretchen?
I was a workaholic, total workaholic. I mean, I occasionally like crochet, color, but I can remember like just sitting on the couch, you know, with my wife and just blank stare, right? Like I was just so emotionless. And, you know, to Charlene's point, on the outside I looked fine. I was smiling and laughing. On the inside I was like, you're a piece of shit. You need to pull out of this. Like I just couldn't do it. And thank God for my therapist. Man, she was amazing.
So, you know, and Charlene, I could tell by your reaction last time that you too have a tendency to have a dialogue within your own mind that doesn't necessarily pump you up, right? Like you're not always, you're like, well, I'm a mom. I noticed in your bio, you're like, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I have this job. And then, and I sometimes, you know, I take time for my art and my friends and family. So it was like, there was a little piece of Charlene in the art. So talk to us about your self-dialogue in your life right now or over the years. So
to add real quick, I think G-Rex is on where I'm aiming to go, right? Like, I think I'm still very much learning how to be me. So I don't know if this is going to answer the question, but throughout my life, I've had moments where I'm completely focused on myself and the happiest I could ever be and really finding the things that make me happy and going for them, right? And then there are other times where I'm distracted. I have to work. Like, to your point, I have to work. I have to be a mom. I have to be a wife. I have to do all these things that in the grand scheme of it all aren't important. I mean, yes, being a mother is important. Being a wife is important. But like having a super clean house, everything is organized. Dinner's prepped for the whole week. Like that shit are all distractions. And I think I go through these ebbs and flows of kind of blocking those out and finding the things that I can do for myself that make me happy. So I'm still learning very much so how to do that, which is why this podcast, Life by Design, and our podcast, I completely take notes because I want to get to the other side of where I'm like, hey, I have a pretty fucking awesome life. And sure, yeah, I do work a 9 to 5, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and I think that engagement level of the goal here is we tend to spend a lot of time in should, I should do this. I should do that. I have to do this. Well, I kind of need to. Well, I want to prep the meals for the week because that makes my life better and makes my life easier. Mm-hmm. Well, the goal I invite everybody to is, can you be at choice? I choose to. There's no judgment there. I choose to do this right now. I'm choosing to prep these meals. I'm not going to make it mean it's a distraction. I'm not going to make it mean it's a burden. I'm just going to make it mean that's my current choice, right? And when we can learn to change the thoughts in our head to that space of empowerment, right now I'm choosing to do the podcast. Would I have also liked to lay in bed an extra 3 hours and drink coffee and not get up? Sure. But I also love talking to you guys. So, it's like, I love all these things. My typical challenge is I want to do it all. And then I get overwhelmed because I don't have time to do it all. And then I beat myself up saying, oh, you're doing too much, or I don't know. It's a real struggle for me because I feel like there's so much that could be done.
Oh, yeah.
You're Gretchen, I literally showed it to my husband this morning, the newsletter, and I was like, shit, I need to be doing that. Like, then I get the self beat up that I'm like, I'm going to have to ask Gretchen how she does that because I'm exhausted. I don't want to do that, but I think I'm supposed to do that. And if I don't do that, then everybody's going to think you're not professional. And this is never going to launch as well as their podcast.
But it's so,
how we measure success.
Yeah, but it's funny. Yeah. Like, it took forever to get that done, right? Like, I had to get help because, like, I don't know. It was so not in my wheelhouse. Marketing's not in my wheelhouse. But, I just kind of put myself out there. But it's funny that you say that because my wife says this all the time. She's like, I've never seen you work so hard for something you don't get paid for. But, right. It's my passion. And I love it. But I did step away. So we didn't do anything with the podcast from like December 15th to like January 17th. And I stepped away and I took time for myself. And I think that's really important no matter what you're doing, whether you're working your dream job or you're doing your passion project. You need to step away and find that happiness, find that joy outside of your passion project, right? For me, I was enjoying the holidays and eating good food and eating way more sugar than I should have ever eaten because then we caused another issue come February. But
there is a cause and effect to a lot of our choices. But if you know it and you choose it, then you're not so upset when it occurs.
Well, you're more shocked. You're like, what could have caused this? Oh, yeah, that's right. The 5 pounds of David's, pecan cookies because they were freaking fantastic. But
we were talking about an intermission.
I'm lucky,
Liz Rance,
right?
Yeah, you are lucky that you had the ability to step away. Liz Rance was an interview, a guest on the podcast, and she took what she calls an intermission. So everybody needs to figure this out because you've got to pause. You got to push pause on the workaholism. You got to push pause on the passion projects. And if you don't, it does become overwhelmingly a burden, or I'm self-judging like, oh my God, I got to do that too. Like, oh, I can't do it all. So if you pause and step back and you can spend a lot of time reflecting on who you are and what you want, or not, just go play. How do you guys play outside of work and outside of the podcast?
I have to tell you,
Charlene? Yeah.
The new thing that we just did. So, because if there's anybody else that's out there like me trying to figure out what all of this is and what your life by design is, I encourage you to play. We went on a vacation to go skiing. Now, that's a big deal for me because I'm a little bit of a control freak. So if I haven't done something before, I am super anxious, right? Like, I'm like, oh, how will I know how to prepare? What do I got to wear? All this shit, right? Well, I did as much preparing as I could ahead of time, but we got there. I've never skied a day in my life. Don't know shit about, I fall just walking. Like, there's not a good, prep for me. But we got out there. We had a ski instructor. And I fucking loved it. So, and I realized me and my husband were talking about it afterwards because he was like, I'm so proud of you for just trying it, right? Like just going out there out of your comfort zone and doing this. And I realized for me, why I liked it so much was because there was nothing else that I could focus on except for, are my legs in a pizza shape? Am I balanced? Am I going to fall? Like, yeah, exactly. Like I was so focused on the physicality and like doing that. And I fucking loved it.
You were present. You were in the moment and you had to be. Exactly.
It was like, I felt like a brand new person. Like a whole weight had been lifted. Like a blockage was cleared. Yeah. Because I was present. And so I love that shit. So right now we've committed to making that a yearly trip, like as a family trip to go skiing. And I'm looking for more things like that to just have fun.
I think we have to have something on the calendar to look forward to as part of a good mental health practice. Even if it's this, I interviewed a girl that said, yep, I'm so excited because this afternoon I blocked off 3 hours for my creative work. And she's like, I hold that time on my calendar sacred. So what are some of the practices that you do to keep you happy and excited during the day? Do you have little things that you embed in your days or any tips you could offer up?
Oh, yeah, I certainly can. So, like I said, I'm working my dream job. I'm working 30 hours a week, but I also got full benefits. So I either go to work at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning. But during the day, I'll go out and talk to my wife, or I'll go pet one of the cats, or I'll walk outside for 30 seconds, depending on the weather. The weather in upstate New York is, I think Mother Nature is on gummies right now because we can't fucking decide what season we're in. But I'll go outside. We have a ton of deer that come out and eat out by our garage or right out by the side of the house. Just go outside to ground myself, right? Or stepping away a little bit from social media and being present with the moment. If anything, so we had a really amazing guest come on. Her name was Liz, aka Bookie, and her mantra was live for the moment, right? And so ever since that episode, that's what I do. I live for the moment, and there's so many of them in the world today. And then I also took one of Dirty Skittles' tricks, and one of hers is take pictures of things that make you happy so that when you're having a bad day, you can filter back through it and look at those pictures. And so every day I take 4 or 5 pictures and I put them in my little folder and I call it things that make me happy. And so when I'm having a bad day, I'll go and look at the things that make me happy. And then,
it's that simple.
And it's something that, she taught this old dog, right? Because there's about 20 years difference between Charlene and I. And so as much as she learns from me, and I hope she only learns the good stuff, not the bad stuff. But I also learn from her, right? And so it's a generational thing for me too.
Oh, that's cool to think about. So Charlene, you're in your 40s? How old are you?
42.
Yeah. 42, and I'm 55, and you're 60?
Yep.
That's awesome. So look at us, 3 different decades of generations, and, we really are. I love that one quote that I think it's Ram Dass says, we're all just walking each other home. I mean, that's kind of the point. We're all holding each other's hands and just walking each other home. And both of y'all just froze. Technology is like...
you froze too.
Yeah, that was weird.
I know. Me and G-Rex were looking at each other like, do we say something?
It was like, okay, so the quote, Tom the editor, the quote was, we're all just walking each other home. So we're all role modeling. I get my editor
quote,
to fix that. Yeah.
You froze again on us. Right at the quote again.
It's the quote. What the hell? Okay, so maybe we'll just keep it in. So you froze again. What is happening?
Oh shit!
Maybe I've used that quote too much.
The quote's not meant to happen.
Fuck the quote. Okay, no more quotes.
Yeah, the quote is fuck the quote.
Oh my God. Okay, I think we're back. Are we all aligned now? Is there something going on? Was there a solar flare that caused us to mess up?
Shit, maybe.
Dude,
maybe.
It didn't affect my phone, so because I don't have AT&T, I have Verizon, so...
Oh,
damn.
I have AT&T. Yeah.
Me too.
I heard they're giving rebates for the blackout the other day.
I got a text that was like, we're really sorry you couldn't use your phone the other day.
I saw that too, and that was it. It didn't say like I'm going to give you $20. I was just like, it's like
Right.
Thanks. I actually asked a spiritual teacher friend of mine I said, you think it has something to do with the solar flares? And she was like, yes, but no one will ever acknowledge that. And I was like, okay. So I don't.
Damn.
Okay, guys. Well, let's keep this conversation going because what do you think? I mean, you mentioned social media, getting off of social media. And I will say that one of the things that seems to have caused me significant stress that I didn't realize over the last year, I'm overstimulated and I can't seem to stop. I have a bit of an addiction to the social media piece. I've been marketing a book, I'm marketing the podcast, I'm marketing my lifestyle, and it's too much. I mean, how are you guys handling social media? You're dropping off, Gretchen. You're not, I mean, I don't know. I feel I'm overwhelmed.
Well, for me, I focus on just getting stuff out for the podcast, right? So I drop at least 3 pieces of information a week. But like for my personal stuff, like I just don't go on anymore because people are just mean, right? There's mean-spirited people out there. If I need mean-spirited people, I'll just turn on the news. I don't even watch that anymore.
I don't either.
I find that human interaction is way more important to me than phone time. And because I also spend quite a bit of time on the computer for work or for the podcast, just getting other stuff done, I want that human interaction. I want to talk to my friends. I want to, enjoy the outdoors. I want to clean my office. And Charlene, she laughs at this, but 2-3 weeks ago, Charlene, I completely cleaned my office. Now we've been in this house for 4 years. My office looked like, I don't know, hoarder hell. This is the cleanest it's ever been. My wife walks in and she's like, I'm going to have a heart attack. And that's because I'm clear, I have some clarity around me now. And having that clarity also means clearing my head of my bad habits, right? So I used to be on social media all the time. Now I want to go outside. So yesterday, we wanted to take a ride. It was absolutely beautiful here. It was colder than shit, but it was beautiful. So we went down some country roads and we went down to Johnson City, New York, which is about an hour from the house, but we took the back roads to go down. And it was just my wife and I, right? We didn't have anybody else in the car. We were listening to really good music. We went and had a really good lunch, drove back, spent some time together, got the newsletter ready to go out this morning. But it was just peaceful and it was fun and we were laughing and carrying on. And I didn't miss not being on my phone because there were certain sections of where we were. There was absolutely no reception. Thank God we had a map. So we didn't get lost because, you kind of get dependent on Waze or Google Maps. But
can you imagine how many people got lost the other day? My daughter told a story about that. She said, I had to figure out how to get back from somewhere because her phone. I said, good. Well, how'd you do it? She goes, well, I knew where downtown was. So I tried to keep driving until I could see the buildings of downtown and it got me towards the house. I said, good for you. I was like, that is something you guys as, a generation really need to think about, 19-year-olds.
Yeah. That's literally how
look up.
That's how I would make it to work in freaking Boston of all places. I would look at the buildings. Oh, I got to go over there and just keep driving until I got to that building.
Well, Charlene, what's your relationship with social media and the phone, and how are you translating that into your child's experience? You have a son, is that right?
I do. I have a 6-year-old son. For me, it's actually kind of easy. So I never really enjoyed social media. I'm not one to post photos of what I'm doing or what I'm eating, right? I've never had that in me. The one addiction I have is TikTok. I will scroll TikTok for hours and just watch all kinds of shit. But my iPhone telling me my screen time is a real good reminder that I need to put it down. But to that point, my son he occupies a lot of my attention. So it's not hard to put the phone down and do whatever we need to do for the day and go outside and play on the bike or go to the playground. So when I'm with him, I make sure to actually be with him.
Yeah.
And spend that time together. So
I used to think that, we always, as adults, we've all experienced conversations in our head or with our therapists about our childhood and our upbringing and the things that were little T, big T traumas. But I then translate that to thinking back on my children. My youngest is now 19, the oldest is 27. And I think, oh my God, I wonder if they're going to be in therapy talking about, well, she was always on her BlackBerry. She wouldn't, she wouldn't look up, or, I'd say, hey, and she's like, just a minute. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens about that addiction and those habits. Because I swear to God, being a parent, you have no idea how to be a parent. None. And right. But they let you bring them home from the hospital. They're like, you gave me this baby to bring back? Oh my God. I don't know what I'm doing.
I know. I'm like, you trust me to take this infant home and like keep it alive? Shit.
What's some of the best advice you guys have gotten around these experiences over the last year? Like, what are some of the key, even if it's Life by Design, not necessarily from my episode, but from others that you would want to share that really have stuck with you?
Man, one thing that I've heard somebody say that I think has changed my outlook for this year was to choose yourself. Choose you. Just something so, like a simple little phrase.
Yeah.
Really shook me to my core. Like I was like, oh shit. Yeah. Choose me. So.
How do you choose you though? It's not just time. And I always like to go a little deeper on these topics because it's not just time. It's not just coloring. I love to color too, Gretchen. It's not just separating yourself from people, but it's having a conversation with yourself. I mean, that's kind of my entryway. How do you figure out how to choose yourselves?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Like, I think when I heard that phrase, how it resonated with me was that, like, I'll use work because it's the biggest pain in my ass right now. Being at work and feeling physical effects where I'm like, God, my stomach hurts because I'm on like this really difficult call, or the shit is down again, or whatever it was. In that moment, I realized I'm bigger than this. I'm more important than this call, than this meeting, than this job. And I need to take care of myself. So if my stomach hurts, why? Is it really this call? Fucking hang it up, right? Like, do what I need to do because I'm more important than these other things that I was distracting myself with. And like, today's another good example. I have the day off. I took on purpose the day after we returned from vacation off because I knew hopping right back into work, I wasn't going to want to be there, right? Like, I've just come from this awesome trip. And instead of using my natural instinct is like, if I have downtime or free time, I always think, oh, I should do this. I should do that. I should do all these things. And today I'm like, no, I'm not going to do anything on the should list. I'm going to do shit that actually makes me happy. So my hobbies and stuff like that, like that's what today is for.
Yeah.
So
don't should all over yourself.
Right. Yes, don't shit on yourself.
Don't shit on yourself.
It's embarrassing. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
I take every Tuesday off. Ooh. And I make fun appointments for myself, or, my husband always says to me the day before, well, what are you doing tomorrow? And I'm like, I don't know. Right? Like, I'm not sure. Or maybe I'll get my nails done, or maybe I'm just going to kind of see where my body takes me. But you mentioned, if your stomach hurts, you paused long enough to ask yourself, why does my stomach hurt? Is it this meeting or the body-mind connection is pretty important. And
I'm proud of you for going to the doctor, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah. I hope your appointments and blood work are all positive.
I mean, it was probably a matter of seconds because I think that was the first time that I had a physical reaction to something that stressed me out, which is interesting, right? Like, I mean, yeah, I've battled with anxiety and depression, but I've never like hurt physically from it. So for me, as soon as I'm very in tune with my body. So as soon as I felt that, I was like, oh shit, like this is serious. Like I remember telling Gretchen, I was like, I refuse to let this. And I think it's from you sharing your story. I'm like, I refuse to let this affect me.
Yep.
And that was it.
Once your job starts giving you like physical ailments, it's time to leave. And it's just not that fucking important anymore. Yeah, the money's great. You get insurance. you have your friends, but damn, if you're not alive the next day to freaking enjoy it, bye, Felicia.
It's not worth
bye.
it.
It's
not worth
it
it.
is not worth it.
Yeah.
I think
It
for
is
the
not
last year,
worth
like
it.
the thing that I really focused on is self-love and self-care. And it's something I ask every one of our guests is like what they do for themselves, because it's really important. People fucking forget to do that. But they've also forget that self-love and self-care could mean, I don't know, getting up and walking away from your desk. Or sorry, my wife brought me breakfast. Get out of here.
Hey,
She always brings her breakfast. How sweet is that?
Oh, I used to have that happen to me back in the day.
God damn. But like people forget, right, that the smallest thing could be considered as self-love.
Well, you know, that's receiving too. And that's a big piece of self-love. I think that people forget that self-love is not just self-delivery, like self-care. It's also giving others permission to give to you.
Yep.
And learning how to foster, here's a little tip. Our bodies are kind of balanced energetically. The masculine energy is on the right side of our body where we do, move, go. And yet the left side of our body is the feminine energies. And this applies to men and women. So the left side is the receiving side. So a small little tip that someone taught me was that, let's say your wife was bringing you that breakfast, you could receive it with your left hand and take the plate with your left hand. And you're fostering more feminine energy and learning how to receive self-love. You know, doing things with that left side of your body is a great way to foster that. I'm
going to have to do more of that because there's not a whole lot of femininity in my life. Like y'all are never going to see me in a dress. Okay. That's not going to happen.
Well, it's not about that. I get you. I see you. But feminine energy it's not pink.
Right.
It's about self-love and worthiness and knowing you're worthy. I mean, this will be a good conversation. What are some of those little teeny tiny practices that remind you that you are worthy? You know, I have a body image challenge, or historically, which is my favorite phrase. Historically, I used to have a real issue judging my body. And now, this may be TMI, but like, even if I get up in the middle of the night or the first thing in the morning, like, okay, this is TMI. I've probably told it before.
No,
I
want to hear it.
But I will get up. Like if I go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and if the light's on in the bathroom, I'll stand up and I'll pull up my shirt and just say, I love you, body. And then I'll put my t-shirt back down or my nightgown or whatever. And I'll do it first thing in the morning too. Like, I'm like, I love you. Because if I don't love it and change the habits, those cells have been abused for so long that my body thinks, oh, we're ugly. We're not worthy. What's amazing is I probably weigh more now than I have in a number of years, and I feel more beautiful than ever. Good. And I know that it's a perception shift. I'm curious, are there little things like that you guys have started doing?
Yes, literally. When we were skiing, I remember getting ready and putting on makeup, which it is what it is. But that self-talk, right? I immediately start thinking like, why are you putting on makeup? You're going to be wearing goggles and a helmet and all kinds of shit, right? Like, why are you even, nobody's going to see your face. But to me, I'm like, no, I want to. It makes me feel good. So I did it. But I also do what you do, right? Like, this is also the heaviest I've ever been. And I look in the mirror and I remind myself, this is my body. It carried a child, right? Like, it's done amazing shit. So, like, don't hate it. Love it. Right. And make it better. If there's something I want to change, then fucking I'll change it. So like just loving who I am, what makes me happy, and stopping like that self-doubt talk is important.
Yeah, and for me, like in the morning, I'll look in the mirror and I'll just say, you know what, I love you. And because I do, I really love myself. I think that I came a really long way to get where I am. And I love who I am today and what I can do for other people and not just myself, right? I'm fortunate. I'm blessed. I have amazing friends. I live in this beautiful house in upstate New York. And I get to be me, right? Like, because here's what happens when you turn 60. And I'm going to give you guys a life lesson. When you turn 60, you have now earned the right to not give a fuck about a whole lot of things. Okay. So I don't give a fuck about the things that I really gave a fuck about, like in my 30s, 40s, and 50s. Life is too short. Live for the moment. Make your life happy. There's little things you can do every day to just make you smile. And so I do things that make me smile.
Oh, guess what, everybody? The fact that Gretchen just shared that with us means that we don't have to wait till we're 60.
Yeah. I was thinking that when she said it, I'm like, fuck it, I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Here now, you know?
It kind of hit me when I turned 40. Yeah. But I want our 5-year-olds, I want your 6-year-old son to know that he's always at choice and that it's his life and he's the common denominator and it doesn't matter what other people think. And self-disparagement is not, it's not humble. It's not an attractive trait.
Yeah.
It's actually, it makes other people be insecure. When we self-disparage or we say, oh, this whole thing. No, I say, oh, I love it too. Thank you very much. Like whatever. It's really important for us to start choosing happiness and choosing fun. And you guys are really in the process. And I'm just impressed, Gretchen. It's only been a year. You went from, holy shit, do I even want to be here? To, I'm saying I love myself in the mirror. I've had clients where on the phone, I've had them stand up and I was like, walk to the nearest mirror. And this one client was like, I can't look at myself. I can't even make eye contact. So I hope everybody listening will go to their nearest mirror when they finish this or right now while they're listening and just check yourself out. Mm-hmm. Who is that person, right?
Yeah.
And notice if you can just start with even just a description. Oh, I'm tall, I have long hair, or whatever. I'm not that tall. I mean, just in retrospect to Gretchen. But okay. In comparison, sorry.
She's like, I love my 4 feet. No, I'm just kidding.
Start with just a generic description and then decide. How will I choose to describe this from what judgments will I choose? Will I choose positive judgments? Or will I choose negative judgments? If you can create that space, oh boy, you're free. You are free.
And positive self-talk goes a long way. And just for a moment, for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, it can like keep you going for the entire day, right? And,
yeah.
And stop being jealous of other people. It's your own damn life. Be happy for people's success. Right? They probably worked really hard to get where they're at. But Nicoa, I will tell you that it took a lot of work. I've been going to therapy twice a week for a year. I'm going to continue going because, we all have demons in our closet, right? I want those demons to go away because sometimes they like jump back out and like scare me. And I'm like, I'm just going to push you away. But now I don't push them away. I like kind of deal with it in the moment. And part of that demon is like, I'm trying to get my book written, right? I'm in that middle chapter and I have a title for it. It's called Fuck and it's Fuck because that's literally what it was. It was like, fuck, right? And getting rid of that writer's block and getting it down on paper because once it's out of my head, it's out of my head. And, journaling has helped me a ton and just, my dreams, my desires, things I want to do. And, you asked about like what things I'm looking forward to. So we started putting our vacations on the calendar. We're like, yeah, man, we get to go do this month. And so what we've been trying to do, because my wife's been retired for a number of years, is that we try and plan fun 3-day weekends, right? Even if it's 20 minutes outside of where we live, it's something that we get to look forward to do. And if the weather turns out to be crappy, then we always have a plan B. But the other thing that I learned about myself over the last year is that I don't stay angry as long as I used to. Like I used to, when I got angry, I would hold on to that for days and days and days. Now it lasts maybe 20 minutes and I'm on to plan B.
Yeah.
Man, I feel so much better.
It's not that you go there, it's how long do you stay there and does that serve you or not? Because, and your reference to looking at other people, that compare despair kind of dynamic, when you look at someone and you think, oh, I wish I could do that, then say, oh, okay, I wonder how they did that. Like just shift it in that moment. I wonder what they did. Maybe I can ask them. Give yourself permission to admire and then inquire versus, notice and judge, right? And then self-disparage. So yeah, you're spot on. And it's funny. I'll share a confession. We were trying to manage our money. We had some unusual bills that came up that surprised us. And all of a sudden I kind of panicked about money, and we canceled a trip. And I don't have a trip on the books right now. And I've always had a trip on the books for decades. And I began to think about that the other day. I thought, oh, maybe that's why I'm having a hard time to get up out of this little rut of, well, I have to control the money. I have to make sure everything's okay. And then I'm allowed to put a trip on the books. And I thought, you know what? No, I've had more money now than I did in the past. So I don't know what the problem is. So I thought, you know what? No, I'm actually planning a trip with my best friend now. I was like, I have to have something to motivate me, to keep me going, even if the day-to-day stuff, when the day-to-day stuff is just not enough. So
a tip I'm going to give you is even if it's not a trip that's going to cost you a lot of money, but just a certain activity, put that on your calendar, right? Because it's something you get to look forward to. You look at that calendar and you're like, oh, I'm going to go do this day, right? And maybe it's not going to cost me a dime, but it's going to bring me a ton of joy.
Absolutely. I saw a meme where the lady was like, when you can't afford to take a real vacation, or leave your town for a real vacation, she goes, and she shows a video of her walking across the hallway. She goes, you check yourself into your guest room for the weekend. Aww. She's pulling her suitcase from one room across the hallway to the guest room. And I was like, that's a great idea, actually. I love my guest room. And the bed's a little bit nicer. And I'm like, I might just do that.
That's funny. I love that.
Well, guys, this has been such a fun conversation and lots of fodder for thought for people. I want to end with just anything else you want to share, any takeaways, any last minute thoughts, and then I'm going to ask you one more question. So anything, Charlene, that you want to share with the listeners?
I would say if you're like me and you're still figuring it out, don't be ashamed. It's okay to still be figuring it out.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so proud of you. Let us know how the doctor's visit went.
Oh, yeah, I will.
Yeah.
What about you, Gretchen?
And for me, it's like, don't wait till you're 60 to not give a fuck, right?
Yeah.
Like, set your boundaries now. I don't care how old you are. Set boundaries, because if I had probably learned that whole boundaries thing like 20 years ago, things would have been a lot different. And just love yourself. Love yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the only one that's going to take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right. All right, you guys. So last but not least, this is my favorite question to ask my clients at the end of each coaching session that we have. And I'm going to start with you, Gretchen. What is the one thing that you want to celebrate the most about yourself before we hang up?
That I'm alive. I'm here to share my love and for life and my smile. And I don't care how small I am, because what I don't have in height, my heart makes up for. So,
I'm so glad that you were born too. Yay. You're making a difference in the world. What about you, Charlene?
I would say I am learning my self-worth. I'm realizing I am more valuable than I originally thought.
Yeah.
I love that.
Of course you are.
Love.
We were all born valuable. And then we kind of forget. And now we're all remembering. And fortunately, right, Gretchen? Charlene's remembering it sooner than you and I did.
Yeah. Good for you.
Well, I'm learning from you all. So. All
right. Well, I thank you so much. I know that we'll be in touch and reconnect in the future. And if you ever need a champion or a cheerleader, you just reach out to me and I'm here to cheer you on.
Awesome.
And thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
So, Nicole,
all right, guys.
So, Nicole, what I want you to do is I'm going to send you an invite. We're going to get together and I'm going to walk you through how to create that newsletter.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I really do need help. My husband said that, he goes, you just ask her. I was like,
she loves helping. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, please do.
And you know what's funny is like so many people are out there charging for these services. I don't want to charge, right? Like I learned by trial and error. I want to share what I learned. So I think that's something we all need to do too, is like share what you learn. Like don't hold that shit to yourself because somebody else might be able to use it.
That's right. And I'm sure that people are taking away so much from this conversation. And I will accept that invitation with my left hand.
Yay!
I'll approach it with my pinkness.
Yes.
Here's a pretty pink hand.
Oh, you guys are beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicoa.
We'll talk again soon.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for a caffeinated conversation. Subscribe to Coffee with Nicoa for more stories from people living a life by design. You can also find inspiration on Instagram. Just follow Coffee with Nicoa. And check out our website, coffeewithnicoa.com. And that's Nicoa, Nicoa. We look forward to talking with you soon, and enjoy your coffee between now and then.